Hi guys, and welcome to Janette and her puzzles. Today's video is going to be a little bit different to what I'm used to doing, so it's a little bit trickier for me because normally I just have a puzzle in front of me and I just talk about what puzzle basically tells me to talk about. Well, no, really, but you know what I mean. So this one is a little bit different and I got inspired by two comments that I received. And I thought I might as well try to do a video on that topic. First of all, I would just like to say that I'm no puzzle expert or anything like that. So everything I'm going to be talking about today is just from my personal experience. So it might not work for everyone, but it's something that worked for me. So the title for today's video is going to be how to pick a puzzle. And the two comments that made me do this video, the first one is the one that said, well, it was actually written like, how do you decide which puzzle to pick next, you know? And I understand, especially from a point of view from someone who doesn't puzzle regularly, it's difficult to just go to a shop and know which puzzle to pick because some puzzles can be so pretty. And then you bring them home and it's like, oh my God, what did I do? Because not necessarily everything that looks good is gonna be easy or enjoyable to assemble. And this is where the second comment comes in, because it's basically about the difference between something being difficult and something being frustrating. So that's why I thought I'm just gonna include everything into the same video. I hope I'm gonna be able to pack it well and it's gonna make sense to you guys. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to talk about that as well is because sometimes, especially if you're new to puzzling, or even if you're, you know, have been puzzling for years, it doesn't matter, because I've done the same thing. It took me forever to figure out that some puzzles are just not worth, you know, finishing, basically. So I think it's a really important step that every puzzler should know, because when something becomes unenjoyable and you're avoiding going to the puzzling table or board or whatever, just something that puts you off of puzzling, it means that the puzzle is not right for you. And now I'm gonna get into how to pick a puzzle, and this part was specifically difficult for me to, you know, even decide how to do, because there is just too much on the market, too many different puzzles, too many different images for me to just make you a checklist and be like, oh yeah, just tick the boxes and it's going to tell you what you enjoy and what you don't. It doesn't quite work like that. So if you want to figure it out, you're going to have to do the work yourself. But what I can give you are the guidelines of how to get there. So this part is definitely going to be easier for people who puzzle a lot, because the more you puzzle, the easier it's going to be to see the difference between what you enjoy and what you don't. But for someone who doesn't puzzle a lot, you know, even 4 or 5 puzzles should be enough for you to see the difference, hopefully. I didn't know what to begin with, but because I think the image is the most important part of making the puzzle enjoyable, I'm just going to start with that. And I'm going to put it into like multiple sections, but the reason why I think the image is more important, well, I think I can say that I know that the image is more important, is because when the image is easy, the cut doesn't matter. So the cut only really works or helps when the puzzle is difficult and picture doesn't help you, then you have to rely on the cut. But if the image is easy, you're not gonna need the cut at all. Yeah, obviously it's gonna make it more enjoyable to puzzle when you have the shapes to help you with the picture as well, but it's not a priority, if that makes sense. Anyway, so before I dive into talking about the images, what I would like you to do, well, obviously you can watch the video first and then do it, but I just wanted to explain so you understand where I'm going with it. So the reason why I decided to do that is because when I did the top 5 most difficult and easiest puzzles of 2024, it gave me a really good idea of what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy in a puzzle. So this is one thing I would like you to do. So go through all the puzzles that you've done, not the ones that you want to do, because the ones that you want to do, you don't know how difficult they're gonna be. So you can't really judge how difficult a puzzle is based on something that you just like watching or looking. So I would need you to find 5 most difficult and 5 easiest puzzles that you've done. It doesn't matter if that was last month, last year, last 10 years, it doesn't matter. Just go through the puzzles that you've done and pick the 5 most difficult ones and 5 easiest ones. And this is now where we are gonna start to kind of make a list of the puzzles. So obviously you're gonna have 2 sections, and all you have to do now is find similarities with all 5 puzzles in each pile. So first I'm gonna split the image into 3 sections. This is gonna be like the first separation, which I think sometimes is even almost the most important one. But it's important to know if the image is a photograph, a drawing or a painting, or an illustration. Because when you know that, then you can immediately know, like, some people don't like to puzzle photographs at all because it's just, I don't know, too difficult to plane, whatever. And then you're gonna see that out of the puzzle that you've got in the pile, maybe 3 of them are illustrations, 1 of them is drawing, and 1 of them is photograph. And that's gonna give you an example of like, oh, maybe I do prefer illustrations more. Because for the longest time I thought I don't like illustrations because I just like beautiful images of nature and stuff like that. But then when I actually saw what's the most enjoyable for me to assemble, I've realized that majority of the puzzles are actually illustrations, the one that I've really enjoyed. Which just goes to show that I didn't really think what's going to be difficult. I just focused on the beautiful image, but it wasn't the best for enjoyment in puzzling. So then the next section for the images that you can divide it into, this is the one that I just cannot really, like, this is the reason I can't make you a checklist, because it's just too much. But you have to go by the type of image. Is it like nature? Is it castles, cities, animals, people? You know, all of that is basically what's on the picture. There are just too many different images for the puzzles, so instead of writing them all down, it's easier for you to just write the images, you know, that are on the puzzles that you've picked in the 2 piles, and then just see if something repeats, you know. Maybe you had 2 natures, or maybe you had 2 with animals on them, or something like that. It's just gonna give you some sort of direction of what you enjoy in puzzling, and you're gonna see if they have something in common, you know, and that could help you pick the next puzzle that you're gonna be buying. The next section I would like to divide the image in is basically how busy the image is. Like me personally, I do not like busy images, I'm not gonna lie. But some people really enjoy them because they see the smallest details and just know where to place them immediately. But I don't tend to look at the box when I puzzle. So for me, it's easier to have like a bigger chunk of pieces that go together so I can just, you know, solve it on my own in a corner. So for this one, I could actually make a checklist. Well, I'm probably gonna give you a checklist anyway. But this one could be like rated from, I don't know, 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, whatever. The 0 being a gradient puzzle, which is basically not busy at all, it's just colors. And then you can just follow it up to 5, which would be like a super busy collage type of image. And then you can just decide based on the images that you've got, what sort of range of what you enjoy putting together. And then the last thing that I would like you to divide the image onto, it kind of goes hand in hand with how busy the image is, but it's almost like, I don't know how to word it, but like how like chunky, that makes no sense now, but like, you know, how divided the puzzle is. I don't know how to explain that, but like you can have a busy image, but you can have it quite clearly divided, like, oh, this section is like yellowish, this one is purpley, and even though it's a very busy puzzle, it's still easy for you to kind of work the little section where there is a type where everything, like all the colors are across the entire puzzle, and you know, you can pick a piece and it's got red on it, and then you look at the picture and red is basically in every part of the puzzle. So I don't know how I would word that, please help. Because I'm gonna make a checklist for you so I know how to even write it down, but I don't know how I would do that. It's like how the colors are spread across the puzzle, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, so again, you can do that from 0 to 5. 0, again, could be some sort of like a, I don't know, like a gradient puzzle that goes in line, like for instance, the floral reflections that we had at the Worlds. Because it's very specific, it's like, it's almost like you're making 6 puzzles within one 500-piece puzzle. And then you can have a different one that's got everything everywhere, or like a single color puzzle. That could probably go under 5 as well, because color doesn't help you at all. Okay, so these are basically the categories that I would like to split the image to. So now that you've got 5 puzzles in each pile, you can just go down this list and just, you know, mark what's what. You can even do 10 puzzles, because the more puzzles you do, the, I don't know, the more accurate the average is gonna be, I guess. But anyway, this is the image done. So you've got the 5 to 10 puzzles, and then you can just go down the list and just mark what's specific for each puzzle. And then when you've got all puzzles done, you can just take the average out of all of them. And then moving on to the cut, like I mentioned, this is not that important in a puzzle. This usually comes important more when the image is difficult, or even the image can be easy, But then you can have just one section that is like the sky and it doesn't have much gradient in it, and you've got about 50 pieces left that are all the same color. Even though the rest of the puzzle was super easy, you finished it in like 3 hours, then you got that corner that you're going to be doing for 2 hours, even though it's only 50 pieces, you know. The cut is also important because it helps so much with how much you enjoy the puzzle. Because even if the image helps, you know, it's still easier to know which shape you're going for. So this is also another thing. I will just point 2 things out here. It's going to be very straightforward, but it's basically the cut of the puzzle. Apparently we've got 3 different cuts. I've learned that from a post that I'm going to put up here as well. So the first one is grid cut, which is basically where all the pieces meet in the middle. So everything, like, you know, it's always going to end up in the same spot. Then it's like ribbon or strip cut, which is basically the lines are gonna be the same, like, you know, the pieces are gonna be cut in line, but then these ones are not gonna be straight, but they can go wherever basically. So yeah, I don't completely understand that cut. I don't think I've seen it, but it's in the post, so I'm just gonna put it out there in case any of you have experienced it, because in Slovenia we are very limited with the puzzles that we get. We usually just get grid cut puzzles, so even having random cut was, you know, super weird for me. But yeah, I already spoiled. So the third cut is a random cut. That's basically anything is everywhere. It doesn't, nothing helps with nothing, basically random. So these are the 3 different cuts. And then the second important thing is basically the variety of pieces. So for me, the worst thing ever that you can have is a completely standard shaped puzzle where all the pieces are 2 in, 2 out, just going tup, tup, tup. How would I do that? Like, you know, 1 up, 1. Yeah, so you know what I mean. It's just like the most standard shaped puzzle. This is the worst for me because I don't even find it enjoyable. Some puzzles, to be fair, have very specific prongs, so that helps even if the puzzle doesn't have a variety of pieces. So maybe that could be extra thing that we could add on the list. So yeah, you've got a variety of pieces. You can literally go by number. Okay, when it's a random cut, obviously the variety is going to be maxed out because they've got all different nonsense in the puzzle. But when you've got a grid cut puzzle, you normally have standard pieces, then you've got the 2 in, 2 out, but like adjacent, you know. Then you've got 3 out, 1 in, you've got 1 out, 3 in, you've got 4 in, 4 out, you know. So you can literally just mark, when you have a grid cut puzzle, you can literally mark how many different varieties, because a lot of puzzles don't have 4 ins and 4 outs. But anyway, like I mentioned earlier, because I just remembered, we can add the prong shapes as well. How specific the prongs are. Because again, even if you have a variety of pieces, and this is the reason why I don't enjoy Educa that much, is because all of their prongs are shaped almost in the same direction. For some reason they're like curved in an angle, and almost all of them look the same. And basically the entire puzzle is standard cut with some of the ones that don't even connect, and then all the prongs are basically shaped in the same direction. So for me this is the most difficult and unenjoyable cut. That's why the image for me is really important with Educa puzzles, because if the image is not nice, I'm not even gonna bother doing the puzzle. So yeah, now that you've got all the information, you can do that for both piles of the puzzles, because that's gonna tell you exactly what to buy or what to avoid, which is almost more important. Because when you learn what you don't like in a puzzle, it's gonna make it so much easier for you next time you go into the shop and be like, wait a minute, I've done puzzles like that before because I really liked the image, but they were absolute nightmare for me. We want puzzling to be enjoyable. That's what puzzles are for, right? Like, we don't do them to suffer when doing them. So yeah, so this is another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And I know I kind of touched the surface in the beginning, but I kind of wanted to go into it deeper, because I think this was like a mind-blowing experience for me when I learned that it's okay to put the puzzle away. I cannot stress this enough. But I understand. You bought a puzzle, you put it on the table, and then you kind of feel obligated to finish that puzzle. And it doesn't matter how you're avoiding it, how much you just don't want to do it, how much effort it takes you to even go sit at the table to finish the puzzle, and how frustrated you're getting with the puzzle. You still feel obligated to finish it because you bought it. And now I'm gonna tell you one thing. The money's already gone. why would you waste your energy and your time doing something that is making you miserable? It is not a failure not to finish the puzzle. If anything, it's like a win, because it's like, oh, this puzzle doesn't make me happy, why would I keep going with it? Like, you're just making yourself miserable by keep going back to that same puzzle, even though you're avoiding doing it. Like, I've had some comments under my videos, like, when I first quit on the puzzle and I said it out loud, which was really difficult for me because you feel like everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, you failed, you couldn't finish a puzzle, you know, and I mentioned it, and then I got comments under the video saying, you know, that they've had puzzles they have been wanting to do, or like the puzzles were a gift and they felt like they had to do them so they don't disappoint their loved ones and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's no point. It's so important for you to learn that it's okay to let a puzzle go. If you don't enjoy a puzzle, just put it back in the box. Either sell it or swap it or whatever. It doesn't matter. The puzzles are there for us to enjoy them. And I'm not saying, like, if you have a custom-made puzzle or something that you said you wanted to put on the wall and you know that the image is going to be difficult, you knew that it's going to be difficult, but for you, you know, it's more important to get the puzzle done to put it on the wall because you know that you're going to enjoy watching every time you walk past. That's a different story because it's got like a deeper meaning to it. But when you're just doing a puzzle to enjoy your time and, you know, relieve stress or something, and then the puzzle is frustrating, well, that kind of defeats the point of puzzling, doesn't it? So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that something good is gonna come out of it, because it's really difficult for me to give you like a specific pointers of what to do to find the puzzle that you like, because I know what worked for me, but you know, not everyone's like me, so it's not gonna help everyone probably, but I do hope that it helps a lot of you and that you find anything that I've said in the video useful. And of course, if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps my channel grow. And yeah, I'm gonna make a checklist now. I don't know how I'm gonna give it to you. I'm probably gonna make it as a community post, so you're gonna be able to just, I don't know, screenshot it and just, you know, do the checklist. So hopefully you learned something new from today's video, and hopefully I'm gonna learn something new from your comments as usually. And you know, I hope you enjoyed it. I know I already said it, but it's always so difficult to finish a video. Anyway, have a good day and I'll see you next time. Bye! I don't even know what to begin with, but so let's just, I don't, because there's the blah, like for instance the floral reflection, like for instance the floral blah, because in Slovenia we are blah. I'm gonna put the post here so you can see the differences. So it's grid cut. What's the other one? Damn it.